plastic on it.
I would like to call to order the City of Saugatuck's Park and Public Works Committee meeting for January 23rd, 2024. Will the deputy clerk please call the roll? I'm sorry, will the clerk please call the roll? My bad. We have Jamie today.
Baldwin,
Here.
Chair,
Here.
Young,
Here.
Johnson,
Yes, here.
Kimball, Roche.
Here.
If you have a form,
Thank you. Next up is the approval of agenda. Can I get a motion, please, to approve the agenda?
I so move.
Second.
Motion DeYoung,
DeYoung has to make a motion. She's got to move to approve
Oh.
the agenda. She can't just.
Say, okay,
You have
I
to-
move
Sorry.
to approve the agenda.
can I get a second?
Second.
Motion
you.
DeYoung, second Cherick. All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Approval of minutes. We don't have them printed, but they were in your packet online. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from 11/28/23?
I motion to approve the minutes from 11/28/23.
Second.
Motion Johnson, second DeYoung. All in favor, please say yes.
Yes. Yes.
The next up is the public comment section. We don't have anyone in the room. Is that your phone online, Jamie? Okay, so I think we can close our first public comment session safely. So now we'll move on, sorry. Now we can move on to the DPW administrative updates, if you would, Mr. Superintendent
Sure.
Herbert.
Thank you. I want to thank everyone for the warm welcome to the adult table. It's very nice to be up here with you.
It's time, Scott.
Thank you. I'm so glad I made the cut. So thank you. No, gladly, I'll be happy to give you an update. So one thing that this committee kind of absorbed was we previously had a tree board. And so a lot of times I would give tree updates for the year. And so this year is no exception. It's a little premature to give a full update to everybody, but I'll kind of let you know where we're at in the year's annual tree care process, which is a lengthy process. So I'll just kind of start from the beginning. Throughout the calendar year, I'll compile a list of, trees that either residents bring up out of concern or that staff notices directly. We'll compile that list. And then if there are specimen trees, something that's not straightforward, like if it's a small dead tree, we'll just go ahead and remove it and get it replaced. But if it's a specimen tree, meaning, say like 150-year-old sugar maple or, 250-year-old oak tree, something that we can't just easily replace and get back.
How old do they have to be for you to say, hey, that's too old to just chop it down?
Yeah, so it depends on a lot of factors, but, it depends on the health of it. Is it declining or is it fully dead? Is it worth trying to salvage it in terms of doing like threaded rotting or steel support cables, whatever? We're not afraid to invest a little bit of money into trees that are, you can't just replace very easily in our lifetimes. And so it all just kind of depends. So recently, I think last week I went around with that list of trees with the city's arborist. His name is Ed Dowd. Ed's got a very impressive background. I view him as one of the top crane operators that I've ever worked with. But he's also a certified arborist too. So I've learned a lot from him over the years, and we did just compile a nice list. And I recently, meaning like this morning, got a cost estimate for the individual trees that we looked at. So I'll be able to provide everyone with a more comprehensive overview of specific trees, what the effects of. I'll let you know one of them that's going to eat up a large part of our budget is over on Park Street. There's a white oak right before you get into the Mount Baldhead parking lot. There's a white oak tree that leans very aggressively towards the river. The tree itself isn't in terrible condition, but it's the consequences. If it does fall and fail, then it's going to take a portion of Park Street out with it. And so this is a highly coordinated effort that may involve, it sounds crazy, there's overhead utility lines above. So I may have to get a crane lined up to get access to the tree on a barge from the riverside while having someone in an aerial lift.
It's on the museum side.
It's right before the museum. Yeah, there's actually a little slight dip in
Yeah.
Park Street right
Yeah.
there where
Yeah.
it's pretty concerning to me.
Yeah.
If it fails, it's pretty severe consequences. So this might be a highly resourced tree removal that we end up doing.
Do it by
bring it out to the 63rd Street property. So, sometimes people want the wood, you know, and that's fine if people can use it, sure. No one, but that's kind of becoming a little more rare because I think most people use natural gas for heating sources, but,
Excuse me, Keith, can you move your microphone closer to you? Oh, toward you. Yeah, thanks. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you.
So that's kind of a little bit of an overview. Like I said, I'll be able to give you more information during the next meeting with some more specifics. But yeah, we're blessed to have the urban forest that we have. But along with that, there's some serious risks with,
Yeah.
you know, large limbs overhead and just massive trees that we have to be careful about and evaluate properly. So
So you're gonna have to take that oak down?
I
You
have
can't Trim it or anything?
I believe we need to take that down. Yeah, like I said, the tree itself is okay. It's just if it fails. And you know, it does seem, I've got a report like across the street, there's a resident that I know well. He used to take care of the museum property quite a bit. And, you know, he believes that the tree is leaning more and more. I don't know. I haven't necessarily measured it, but I do see. the
knows
dip-
that place.
He does. And I do see the dip in the road next to
He
that
knows.
tree and
Yeah.
it's just such a narrow portion.
Yeah.
Is it in public property? It's all public property.
It's all public,
But
yep.
is it like in a forested area so you can lay it down or is it?
No.
It's all,
There is a dock underneath it.
all right.
There's virtually no space. There's not, the good thing is it doesn't have a large canopy, but it's just because of the overhead utility wires, we're not able to access it from Park Street. And so we got to think a little bit outside the box on this one. I've never had one quite like this, but it's in the very narrow strip of riverbank in between the asphalt portion of the street and the river. So that's where it's at. But, so that's just something that we'll work on and I'll give you all an update on. And besides that, Public Works has been pretty hard at it the past couple of weeks with snow, and pretty proud of the crew for handling the demands of it as well as we have. A lot of early hours, unpredictable weather patterns, and I think that they've done a really nice job. So besides that, that is the update that I've got for you.
Any
Hey,
fur- any further questions?
Scott, I have a quick question. As far as choice of trees, when you have to take them down or replant, or we have open spaces or whatever, what's the process for that? And are we always choosing natives, or how do we decide what is going to prosper there and then what's going to be?
Yeah, Eric Morrow. I work really closely with Eric Morrow. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he owns Great Lakes Ornamentals down Blue Star Highway. He went to Michigan State University for this, and he is a wealth of knowledge in terms of, we try to generally stick with natives, but there are some circumstances where, you know, maybe it's there may be better options. But for the most part, we try to replace with natives.
And he's good and he's got a good supply out.
Oh,
there,
yeah,
too.
he's amazing.
And one of the things that actually got passed at last night's city council meeting was the tree, there's gonna be a fee for tree removal, anything on the right of way, fee for tree removal, and just a minor fee for, to plant one, $25. But in that, we're gonna look into having, encouraging people to plant certain trees and stay away from others.
Yeah, a lot of municipalities, like, I would encourage you to look at the City of Grand Haven's website. They have a really awesome list of approved street trees.
Mm.
And they break it down by category, like, is it native? Most of them are they salt tolerant? Can they withstand root damage? Like, if you have to replace concrete over top of it, can we
Mhm.
cut out the root and the tree won't
I
die?
think that that's a great idea.
You know, just things of that are
Mhm.
kind of tried and true proven street trees. And so we're trying to replicate something similar to that for the city of Saugatuck, which I would imagine ultimately will be presented to this group for
Yeah,
consideration.
because to even have a list that people can replace with, they
Mhm.
just only go off this list. I
Mhm.
think it's easier for people too.
Yeah.
It
Great.
puts me in a position sometimes by not having that list where I get into kind of like a Google war with somebody
Of
about
course,
if
yeah.
this tree is
Yeah.
okay, if it's not
Mhm.
okay. It is, it's like,
The list is good.
can
Yeah, let's
literally
avoid
see
the
your
Google
Google
I
search.
love Google Board.
and so it's,
I never win.
yeah.
Anything else for Mr. Herbert? Okay. that'll
Oh,
take-
I guess I do. I guess there is some complaints on Park Street about the potholes, that someone got hurt stepping in one and broke their femur.
Oh,
I don't know if you heard that.
Oh, wow.
And I don't know what pothole it is, but if we could go down there and possibly do some patching, it'd be nice to replace the whole thing, and knowing we can't do that quite yet, but if we could patch,
Yeah.
check it out, that'd be great.
Sure.
So I don't know if you're gonna be,
Broke their femur.
I don't know the name of the woman.
So is it true then? Is it a rumor?
No, it's true.
Uh,
Yeah.
I
We don't
was-
rumor down on Park Street.
Yeah.
Building on
That is the funniest thing I've heard like this month. Yeah.
I'm just saying, just check the potholes.
I will add, like this time of year, because of the temperatures, we're kind
Oh, I
of
know.
forced to use cold patch,
That's
which
fine, yeah.
is far inferior to hot patch or HMA
Fills the
asphalt.
hole.
So basically, if we put cold patch in a hole right now, the very next time a snowplow goes through, there's a high likelihood that the blade's just gonna rip it
Okay,
right out.
just wanted to bring it up.
But yes, we will.
Mhm. Just be thanks.
Okay, moving on to item B, updates on Saugatuck Harbor Natural Area. Did you want to take this, Kelly?
Sure.
Okay.
So as part of the Mount Bald Head Study Group, it came out that we were just asking about funds in general and kind of talking through the project. It came out that the Saugatuck Harbor Natural Area has an endowment, and we'd heard a little about this, but we didn't have any specifics on it. And so Peter had mentioned it, and so I called what's called the Community Fund of Holland Zealand. Met with a very nice woman over the phone, Colleen Hill, she is on the side of working with the endowment, and there is quite a bit of money in there. So this is for a very specific area. So I want to show mapping because it is confusing once we get over to this peninsula over here. So we're talking about Saugatuck Natural Harbor area. So this is water here, Bald Head, and then it goes across. So it cuts off at the lagoon back over at Oxbow. Okay, so it's all that dune area. There
Mhm.
is some wooded area. I think Chris Clark was saying that it's a little marshy in there, but there are some trail systems. And so the original endowment was $450,000. It's managed by the Land Conservancy of West Michigan. It started in I think the talk started in 2010. The endowment went into effect 2012. There are beautiful plans that are written for it, and it is currently up to, wait for it, guys, as of 11/30/2023, $736,000, $736,726.12. And of that, so since it's endowment, only a certain portion can be spent on an annual basis, which is 4%. So right now, it's at 166,483 in terms of money that can be spent only on that particular area. What came out of this as well is that because it's an endowment, there is a management plan for it.
Sure.
And it's all written there for us. She sent it over. We do need to update it every 5 years, and it is out of compliance right now. And so that is something that we need to work on as a group in order to be able to look at what needs to be done in that area. And so what we can do is send over the original management plan, and you guys can put eyes on it. That group, whoever it was, really laid out a lot of different ideas, but in the end, they really want to leave that area natural. The big thing though is wayfinding, is making sure that we're for people that are hiking back there, is keep them out of critical dune areas and things that could be
Mhm.
encroached upon. So anyway, it's exciting.
That is
because
exciting.
there's
How
funds.
did you find out about this again?
So this came up randomly at our Mount Bald Head study group meeting, that there was an endowment, there were some funds, and so I sort of took that down the rabbit hole and found a lot of information.
Was it
So
a
in the
deed-
end,
Deed search or was it?
no, I just called the community fund that Peter had said that he thought there was some money with, and so we found a lot of money. So
So
it's,
every year, it's like we could spend around $20,000, but since nothing's been spent, there's like 170 in there
It's
waiting.
accrued.
Are you kidding?
so since
Wow.
we have not, the management plan has not been updated since 2015. So it's been a few years. So all of that money has been accruing over that time. So in order to have access to that money now, we just need to update the management plan, which is.
Is there a
pretty
management
simplistic
plan
because-
we can work
Oh,
off?
yeah,
of?
absolutely.
Okay,
I have it right
okay.
here.
Oh, cool.
It's
It
10
doesn't seem
pages.
onerous at all.
It's
yeah.
beautifully written. It was a
Great.
group, what we have not found the full facts for is who all came in to purchase this and then put it into an endowment.
Do we
So I don't
need,
know if you have any further facts on that, but it was
Who the board
businesses, it
was
was.
and how do we, because.
Do we need to know that?
That's
No.
not important.
No, I mean, it was just interesting facts as far as like, how did this come about? But in the end, the money exists. There has been no detriment for not spending it. So it's just continued to accrue over time.
and so this is not part of the pool of money that we are tasked with helping Parks and Rec.
This is in addition to.
Nice.
Yeah, but remember, it can only go for that specific area.
That's okay.
But
Not
it's
Bald Head, not
still,
Oak.
it's still fantastic because it's the
Fantastic.
springboard with, us with the 5-year plan, which we'll talk about next, with all of the ideas for wayfinding, that gives us an opportunity to start that project and then pull that through other areas. So anyway, it's very positive.
Wow.
Yep.
Great.
Yep. So Helen and I are going to be setting up a meeting with Ryan as well with the community fund to figure out exactly what we need to do to move forward so that we are in a good standing and then can move forward with this.
Oh, well, thanks for following up on that. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yep.
Well,
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Any further questions for Ms. Roach? Okay.
Can I get a copy of that? Can you email us?
Yep, I've got it all, so I can send it.
Okay.
Yep.
We will move on to the 5-year plan adoption, which I am happy to take on. Happy to report that we presented this to council last night and we're able to get it adopted. So I would say our work here is done, but this is a living document. So anytime that we need to update is appropriate, we have the ability to do that. I want to say again, what a pleasure it was to work with Veritas and hopefully we'll have another opportunity to do so in the future. I can't imagine we wouldn't. They were really, they really came through and working with them and the other communities to get this pulled off was a heavy lift, but thoroughly enjoyable and really, really happy with all the work that everyone's done. And I do want to offer my sincere thanks to everyone at this table for that. It was I'm really rewarding. I mean, I guess something like this only gets to happen every 5 years. And at first, when I saw it, I was thought it was a little bit daunting. And as it came together, everybody, really worked great and very happy with that. So yes, it's adopted. We are good to go. They will submit it before I think it's a February 1st or 4th deadline. And we will be in full compliance with the state and the DNR and able to request grants at that point. Does anyone have any questions for me?
So I was at the school board meeting last night and so as you guys know, it's the 3 municipalities plus the school. I went as part of Saugatuck Rec because I also serve on that advisory board. So they do not have to approve it, is their understanding, because they don't use this to apply for grants. They have their own pot of money
Okay.
that they pull from. So we were just going over it there. And one of the questions that came up is all 3 municipalities have to approve this, correct?
Correct.
And adopt it?
Yep.
Okay, and so far, everything has gone smoothly, correct? Okay, so that was a question. I assumed that because obviously
We were the
being on
last ones.
part of
Yep.
the steering committee, I had not heard
We
any
were the last
feedback.
ones to adopt.
Yeah.
It's based on, it's your first city council meeting after the close of the public review session. And so ours was the latest that it could have been, which is good because we're right up against the deadline. It's the 23rd. We got like, TikTok,
Yep.
8 days, I think, but
Okay.
let's not do anything 1 minute before it needs to get done is all I'm going to say.
Yeah, okay.
We're
Okay.
going to keep it on trend.
I felt very confident in voicing that
Yes.
all 3 would be adopting it, but I had not. heard any
Everybody's,
feedback, so I just wanted to
everybody's
make
been
sure.
great. And I will say that all the municipalities have, I mean, again, that I got nothing but wonderful feedback from everybody. And I think it's something we need to actively pursue is anytime we're taking on a initiative, it's easy to work in a vacuum, but just to keep in mind that we are part of a larger community and we are an ecosystem. We are not, here to stand alone. So, all in all, just a wonderful process. And I was happy to have participated and I'm happy that it's done.
I am too.
One thing after this.
And we did that.
Thank,
Check the box.
yes, thank you for those that put a lot of work into it. And I like the fact that everybody worked together. And then one of the pillars was let's coordinate among the 3 municipalities to, with connected trails and things like that.
Yes.
So that was wonderful. I also saw in our chart where things were listed, there were with prices of what might happen, a lot of to be determined, which is not just for us, but the other communities. Can we fill those in as it goes, or would those just be things if we decided to write a grant to the DNR, it would be
I
decided at that
think
time?
with it being a living document, we can fit when we get better information, because that was one of the reasons why I didn't give it too much. A lot of it was filled, all of it was filled in by Veritas, but they've got some expertise in those areas. But again, I mean, they don't know if we're going to replace steps on Mount Baldhead. They have no idea what materials we're using, whatever.
Right,
So
right, right.
no, those are just guidelines that they had generally, but absolutely, that's ours to update. And again, it's a living document. It's for us to use for our own purposes and not
Mhm.
for,
Yep.
to be held as a mandate. It's not that's not the
And I loved everything
Spirit.
that was in there.
Anything else before we move on? Okay. Item D, uniform signage initiative with 3 municipalities. I think I'm gonna ask Kelly to take
Yep,
this one
I
too.
can take that one. So So speaking of the 5-year plan and the connectivity, that was obviously the major thing as you looked at the plan. And then there is a plan for the 5-year steering committee to continue to meet. We have not decided if it's gonna be on a quarterly or, twice a year basis. But everyone is really excited about trying to work together and pull a lot of these themes forward because again, our borders are porous. We're constantly back and forth as locals. Our tourists have no idea where, towns stop and end or start and end. And so, one of the things that came out of it is that, the Saugatuck Township Parks Commission already has signed a contract with ODC to start doing some, signage, some interpretive signage over at River Bluff. And so I think it was you that sent it over. And so I caught wind of it. I got in touch with Ken Butler and said, okay, can we just pump the brakes here for a second and get the 3 municipalities together again so that we can talk about what our expectations are about signage moving forward. So you guys don't do the spend and then we go, wait a second, now we want to work together on this. So, ODC, I think the person that typically does the signage, she was out on maternity leave. She's just now back. And so the 3 municipalities are going to gather soon. I just pinged Ken again to see if we can get a date on that. So we're waiting on a date. Also, CVB is interested in this as one of their initiatives. And so they will be included in the conversations as well. So it's really just general, do we want to have a tri-communities logo? Do we want to have each town sort of choose coloration, what typeface? Just things that we can make it so it's more uniform, it's more understandable, it's safer, and that we're all kind of spending in this direction as we move forward.
When when you guys get the ideas, will that then go to each municipality to have approval of it?
I'm assuming so.
Yeah, I don't think that we.
Yeah, I
would
mean, we're
want
not
to-
gonna
Yeah.
just move forward.
Oh, of
Signage
course.
is
Yeah.
expensive.
No, this is just to get some level of agreement because everybody said and committed that this is what we
That
want
this
to do
is an
forward. So
issue.
it's like, okay, we have to
Mhm.
start somewhere. And they're the ones that have already, contract with the ODC. So we just said, if you guys could wait, and then again, because they're already moving forward with this and we've got our own projects, Douglas has theirs, we don't want to hold them up.
Mhm.
But if we can create a level of expectation of like, this is what we're trying to accomplish here, I think that puts us all in a better space to actually act on what we're saying we want to do for the 5-year plan. So
And signage.
So it's coming.
Too, even for, I mean, there's obviously like, the most important is wayfinding and that obviously, but even just the cosmetic, to see you are in Saugatuck is not too exciting to me, or Oval Beach this way, right? We want to have
I
something that kind of highlights what, I mean, it doesn't nearly indicate what a beautiful thing you're about to see when you just look at
No, it
some
doesn't.
pretty little city signs. So yeah, I'm sorry.
Well, there'd be
Some current signage. It's not helpful.
a level of signage, so we'll have the 3 municipalities that, and then our city, and then our,
I don't think we've gotten
areas.
that far yet in the process to know. Yeah.
No, so any ideas?
Yeah.
Send them
Yeah.
away. I mean, the other question too is you guys have all seen the new signs in Douglas. I've heard really good feedback on that.
Beautiful.
Does anyone?
well, we brought it
here-
up last week. I mean,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
in
So
November.
if there's any opinions on that, I mean, that's really simplistic, really
Mhm.
beautifully done. I think it's helpful. I'm not saying that, I mean, that's just one point of interest.
Right.
ODC had just done a new property that they went on. It's called River Junction. So if anybody, if you're interested, it's out towards Hamilton.
Okay.
And it's, what is it, the Rabbit? Is the Rabbit River?
River-
Yeah, right
River Vein
there.
or something,
Takes
yeah.
you along the riverbed. It's really beautifully done and it's all new signage and really simple. And that is something that they made mention of when we were doing the SOAR project for the airport property that might be something we want to move forward with. So if you're looking for a new place to hike, you go out, take a peek at that. But
And I haven't seen anything ODC does that I would quarrel with at this point.
No,
They've been
me
wonderful
either.
partners. Okay.
You just
that's
want to
all.
be. in the-
Madam Chair, if I may,
Yes.
since we have Lisa on the call here. Lisa and I have been talking about this for, I don't know, year plus, probably 2 years, about uniform signage. So I would compartmentalize this into maybe a few different categories. One is like wayfinding, like
Mhm.
streetscape, wayfinding, like Douglas has done. So that's kind of one thing, and it's really good to have uniform signage from Fenville to Douglas and to the township, and just like, nobody really know, like, if you're a tourist, nobody really knows the boundaries, as Kelly had mentioned, like, nobody knows where it starts and stops. So it's good to have uniform signage. But then there's another like belief and or thought from urban planners or sign designers that maybe you want to be like more organic with your signage. Like maybe you don't want to be commercialized and like fit into like this kind of very commercial type signage for wayfinding. I don't know that I totally prescribe to that. I think just uniform signage is good. But then there's another category, in my opinion, which is like trails.
Mhm.
And so when you get on the trails, I think my professional opinion is like it should be super organic,
Mhm.
right?
I
Like,
agree.
you don't want to like blow up like big signage on the trails, like just keep it cool. Like the one example would be like Oxbow
Mhm.
Trail, right? It's fun, it's organic.
Mhm.
You can see where you're going. And-
State Park has.
State
just
Park does a nice job,
they
yep.
have markers and
Mhm.
that are pretty easy with numbers on them.
Yeah.
Not necessarily a map.
Yeah, keep it simple, keep it
I agree.
fun, keep it organic, my opinion. So it's an interesting conversation, the wayfinding. I do prescribe to like consistent wayfinding, as I mentioned earlier, between the municipalities. So Lisa, do you have anything to add to this convo, if you don't mind, Madam Chair?
No, no, of course, please.
Thank you. I agree with Ryan. I think consistency is going to be key as far as tourists getting around the area. As Kelly stated, they don't know where they are, and does it really matter? I know that per the city manager in Fenville, Katie Beamer, that they've decided to adopt the same graphics that Douglas is using for their wayfinding. And they're
Okay.
changing only, I think, the colors, and they're also adding Hispanic language to the sign as well. So we know that Douglas and Fenville will be cohesive and consistent with their signage. It would be nice to see wayfinding connected throughout our area. I think that would go a long way with tourism. But I also agree with Ryan on being more organic on the trail system. I think that's, I wouldn't want to see a sign like a wayfinding sign on the trails. I think they need to be more rustic and organic. So, and I'm happy to be in on this any way we can help.
I think there's just so many different levels of signage, you know,
Yeah.
and you got to be real careful not to muck something up,
That's right.
muck an area up with all these signs, but you have to be cohesive. So there's different levels we're going to have to take it, you know, so you need someone that really knows what they're doing to do a whole complete package.
Do we
Because
know?
we have,
oh,
I'm sorry,
no, go
because
ahead.
we even have, even like in our last meeting at Park Street, I mean, there's different areas within our little town that can be called out by signage, just to identify these spaces, you know, as well as having that organized municipality signs. So there's lots we can do. So it's good and it's bad. You know, there's a lot of ideas.
Do we know who Douglas contracted with for theirs?
We do.
It's
It's spendy,
Oh, it is. Okay.
yeah, but they already have the design template, so it's less spendy for us.
But it's done. I mean,
Right.
it's gonna last for a long time.
And we,
Yeah.
I don't think that we're necessarily, I mean, this is, again, so just as like a kind of a workshop format, this would be my personal opinion is, I don't think we have to be tied, like maybe we have contract with those folks to do that piece that we have for the wayfinding, but then work with ODC for the trails.
Trail,
because
I
the
agree.
ODC does
Absolutely.
beautiful work on the trails, yeah.
Absolutely.
And I
Yeah.
don't see that why we would have to necessarily be locked
don't.
into that, so
Mm-mm.
that would be my suggestion.
But also just be aware of like, what I would call political sensitivities to, exposing your public trails.
Yeah.
true.
I
Mhm.
understand. Even with some people at this table.
Me.
Just saying.
Yeah, I know.
So that's the
Of
other
course.
issue, that you have to deal with, but.
I think that goes both ways. I do understand the desire to keep it wild and to not have, you know, an influx of a lot of traffic. But I think we have to balance that with keeping people actually on trails
Sure.
and not off wandering through the dunes. And so that's where I kind of land in the center of it, where
And clean up after your
Yeah,
stuff.
of
and
course.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, all that stuff.
keep,
Yeah.
certain areas shouldn't have dogs
Nope,
if we've got, you know, things like that. So
Nope.
yes. I
or on
agree.
a leash or something like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We'll move on to item E. This is something that Keith has been working on along with Kelly, and I had a meeting with Chris Clark the other day, working to confirm conservation levels with Register of Deeds. And Land Conservancy of West Michigan. I have some work to do in this area that I want to connect. A lot of this stuff, I mean, it's frustrating because it just seems so knowable, but at the same time, we don't have a knowledge of what we're looking at, you know, the different areas, you know. I mean, you hear talk like Mount Baldhead is totally unprotected, and then you think that really can't be, but I would like to be able to, instead of thinking or imagining, we need to
No.
know these things.
Mhm.
So, it is on my list, to start, working with, LCWM to figure out how we go about it, what levels of conservation are there, where we are, and we need to do that for all of our public lands, I would say.
Is it under our expenses that we can do the research on it, or is it a city expense?
Any spend has to come from city council.
Okay, but we have to get approval to spend. the
Yeah, we
money
would have to,
is
if there's
For us.
if we know that there's money to be spent, we can make a motion here and
'Cause
take that to
there's-
council.
When I did talk to Helen yesterday, and we have 22 parcels that I have found that we have in Saugatuck. There's a couple that actually don't even have parcel numbers. But there are several layers. What I found out when I talked to the Register of Deeds, and she said, so let's say Coughlin Park was donated to us, to us, and the person that donated it back in the day might have bought it from a guy, and whoever donated it might not have put a deed restriction on it, but the previous person might have, and that might not have showed up in the person who donated it to the city, like Coughlin Park. Like Coughlin never had a deed restriction on it, but it was the previous owner that might have. So you'd have to do a deeper search to see if there was a deed restriction, or maybe even an endowment. You know, I mean, I didn't look into that at all, but there are things on deeds, on even wills that go along with that. You know, some back in the day, I have a will for the bed and breakfast we used to own. It was like 25 pages
Mhm.
and it listed every item, but so there's deep dives and they charge for that.
Do you know about what the scope of what we're looking at for charges on per parcel?
Probably, I think 50 cents to $1 a page.
Oh, okay,
It's not inexpensive.
Hmm.
And it depends on what they find.
right.
Because we have no idea how many
Yeah.
pages they're gonna
Um,
research.
So when I was waiting for someone one day in a coffee shop, and I thought that we have 22 parcels, like I said, and I'll copy it and paste it to y'all. We have a lot of property in this town, you know, and that's not even including the street ends, which I don't even know if they have parcel numbers, do they?
They do have parcel numbers, but so I think
I'm
Help-
venturing
help
too
out.
far on that.
yeah, it's cool.
The
The title search, if I can help you, sir.
Yeah, but title search is like if you use not a title company, they charge
Yeah.
also.
Oh, yeah.
And that could be for a municipality, it might be $800 per parcel.
So I think that for me, the next step in this then would be to understand the scope of work, you know, continue to work with LCW, Land Conservancy of West Michigan, understand the scope of work, pull it together and really have an understanding of exactly where the parcels are and what we're looking at and about what the expense would be. Bring a motion to city council to approve us to have some funds to do that, I think would be the next step here.
Yeah, and I think it's twofold. One, you do the title search, which is gonna be pretty spendy, but you know, time well spent, money well spent, my opinion. And then you have your engineer map out where these parcels exist. And you combine those two things, right? So you got your title search, and then you have the parcel number, and then you have a map. So you know exactly how to reference each parcel
Mhm.
with the title search.
Which is so crazy that we just don't
Yeah.
have that's,
So-
yeah.
And Brian, there is no reference to this, like within these walls. I mean,
It seems like
the
there
title
has to be.
searches, the registered deeds, any of it.
No, you have to go, you have to go to the county to get that information. So yeah, like, I mean, you can go into do I understand your question correctly? Like, we don't have like the titles in our,
Right, like
Right.
somebody.
City
did
Hall.
already
Like,
do
so
this.
no one has done this research
Correct.
where these maps and and the deeds and the titles exist for
Correct.
each parcel that we're claiming as a city of Sagatuck Park.
correct.
Yeah.
Road
Correct.
trip.
Okay.
Me, you.
Okay, yeah.
Once you get to
Yeah.
the register.
I mean, you go in the basement down here, spend a lot of time with the spiders, Jamie.
I love
Uh,
spiders.
But,
once-
but no, to answer your question.
Okay, yeah.
Like, seriously, yeah, no, there's not a map that's been solidified with, and when we do get, so there's no map that correlates all these things that we're talking about. But when we do have that information, we can provide that to Allegan County GIS.
Mm.
So then, and that gets on the record forever,
Mhm.
forevermore. I mean, it's very helpful to us, but for the next generation of humans that go through
Mhm.
a parks conversation,
Mhm.
it'll be good.
Yeah, so I don't know about you guys, but I feel like this is a huge contribution if we can do this, where
Yes.
it's all
Yeah.
like
I
I's
feel
are
like
dotted,
it-
T's are crossed, it's all put together so that no one has to have questions and that we have confidence that our lands are protected in the way that we want them utilized for the public.
And like Ryan just said, it's for the future.
Mhm.
Yes,
Let's keep-
and all it would
keep that.
take is the wrong people to be on city council
Yeah.
to sell Mount Bald Head. I mean, you don't know what could happen if we
Very
don't
true.
have it. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and even with talking with Chris, I mean, there's, like, we have all of our little marks here, but there's little easements and things that are major question marks that we're currently using as trail systems. And with all the development going on, there's development going right up next to them. And so I think now is the time to do this, to make sure that all these things
Great idea.
stay intact as part of our parks, so.
By the way, Ruth Thornton that spoke with us from Land Conservancy is leaving,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard
Oh.
that.
or maybe has left already.
I think she's gone.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on, I have an update for item F, recycling bins pilot program. We have this successfully on the agenda for Historic District, which I believe their meeting is February 1st. Since the three in the pilot will be all in the Historic District, they're gonna be at, other than Mount Bald Head, I think that one's at the pharmacy and one's at,
Village Square.
Village Square.
What was the first or second one you said?
Mount Bald Head,
Yeah, second.
Village Square and the
Village Square.
pharmacy. But one of the things we have to look out for, since two of those items are in the historic district, we have to get approval from them on the bins. So that is on the schedule or on the agenda. And with that approval, then we are free to go because we already had approval from city council.
What's the frequency of picking that up?
Every
Yes,
day.
Scott.
Every day, which we do anyway. So it's really, you know, it sounds like adding work. It's not. It's just logistically, what it looks like is we would have to have like a different colored bag for the recycle bins because ultimately these are going to end up in the back of our pickup trucks.
Mm.
And then once we get it back to Public Works, we have two options. I worked with Jack Brown from Republic on this already. Basically, we can get like a massive 30-yard dumpster, which is, at least for the pilot test here, it's probably not what we're gonna do. What we'll do instead is we'll have about 6 of the little Herbie Kirby bins, and then we'll just have to rip open the bag and loosely pour it into those bins for it to get recycled. So that's how we'll handle it logistically and see how it goes. If we think that the contamination rate is acceptable to Republic,
That's,
you know, as long as we don't have one, and I think a lot of that's gonna come down to where we place them. Like if we put one in front of Kilwins, it's probably not the best place for contamination rates, but you know, so as long as Public Works does our job, and we used to have recycle bins out at the Oval Beach, and what we found was that if the regular trash can next to it got filled, then
Did you-
everything else goes in the recycle bin, which I guess is better than letting it blow all over the place, but it's not achieving the objective.
Right.
And so as long as we put them around the city tastefully, we can manage this.
Good. That's exciting.
How will we decide then, okay, it was successful and we're gonna move forward? Have we thought about that?
You'll get feedback from Public Works, certainly. And also, I'll work with Republic on that and just make sure that they, you know, can sort it and it's not, our efforts are not being wasted.
Yeah.
Yeah, these questions came up during the council adoption of the thing. So same thing. How do you know if the pilot's working? Who's gonna provide the feedback? So yeah.
I got really great news from Jack Brown. I think very highly of him, and he kind of reassured me that the contamination rate is pretty high. So it's not like if there's like one ice cream cone in this, you know, in this
Oh,
recycle
really?
bin, it's not like they're just going to throw it out. Like the contamination rate's pretty high where they can filter through it and sort it properly and
That's
ultimately
good
get
to
it
hear.
recycled.
Good
So
to
it is
hear.
good news.
The other thing we did too is in choosing the bins is that it's just for bottles
Is
to
it the
start out.
whole-
So it's a restricted opening.
Yeah.
So hopefully that'll make people look twice and there'll also be labels on it. So
Those are the
two
best
things,
ones
plus it's
too.
blue.
Yeah,
So there's a.
yeah,
The biggest thing is the plastic water bottles, right?
right. And those other ones. Mhm. That's great.
Yeah, we can also reach out to like our neighboring community in Holland. They fairly recently started
They did.
implementing a recycle program like this. And I didn't get into the details of it with Mr. Brown, but he said it wasn't going the best.
Mm.
So I'm curious.
Do you know in which way it wasn't going the best?
Not in a good way, like.
I mean, for instance, like.
Like,
In the bad way. it's-
yeah, like the bad, no, like
No, no, no.
it wasn't as successful as they had hoped.
Oh, really?
And so I'm kind of curious to learn more. I'll probably reach out to the person, the City of Holland staff member that deals with it directly and just kind of learn more and see what works for them, what doesn't, if they have issues, how they, mediated those issues and just see if we can build on it.
Because you wonder how like these campuses have them, like Michigan, Michigan State. I mean, I wonder how successful all that is.
Their kids are different than tourists.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that there's got to be, well, not when they're drunk.
I think it's gonna work out.
Yeah.
I think so.
Theirs are open too. They have different bins, so we'll see.
Yeah.
Who has the
Exactly.
open ones?
Holland.
Yes.
Holland has the ones where just
anything.
anything can fit
Yeah.
inside.
Pizza
and so
box.
If you're not paying
Yeah.
attention or you don't want to pay attention.
Circles, yeah.
So we'll,
Yeah.
I mean, we'll see if
Yes.
this is worth the.
Benefit of, this is the test
Investment.
program.
It's great.
And that's the benefit of starting small and dipping our toe in slowly.
It's probably something we should have started a long time ago, so bravo.
Good job,
Good job.
Scott.
Mhm.
Thank you, Scott.
And you too, Kelly. Yeah, thank you.
And everybody.
Yep.
All right, we will move on to item G, and I will take this up. It's Oval Beach concession RFP, request for proposal. So similar to what Douglas does with the Root Beer Barrel. To go out for professional bids of actual restaurateurs or people that own food trucks that know how to serve food. Currently, the status is that it's on DPW's shoulders to take food safety classes and buy cheap hot dogs. And yeah, so that's really on Scott's plate right now. And so it's not,
Cheap hot dogs?
it's not as,
Right?
yes, no pun intended.
It's all beef hot dogs.
It's
So-
funny, the timing is perfect. I will literally be in a food safety course tomorrow from 9 to 5 up in
And I
Holland.
just Picture him and Cody with their little beard wraps and it was too much for me. And so I said, let me see
Eating
what
hot
I can
dogs.
do.
This is one of those things where we are not offended to say maybe someone else can do it better.
So I, so all kidding aside, I think it's good for in many ways. There's not a downside to this in my mind anyway. We take something off of an already overloaded DPW in the height of the summer season. Maybe have an opportunity to upgrade our offerings there. Be able to work with a vendor and, put in some specifics, like we talked about, no more styrofoam, please, no more
No,
styrofoam at the
we should
beach.
never
Why are
have
we
that
doing that?
stuff.
No styrofoam, no straws, no, let's work on these things.
Yeah.
Douglas did a really great job. I mean, they took a lot of heat for it, but I gotta say they persevered. They did a really good job of soliciting RFPs for the Root Beer Barrel. They decided to go with a different vendor this year than they had before, but I've actually reviewed it and I'm gonna send you guys each a copy. I should have sent that before in advance of this to find the vendor that they actually settled on, that they actually partnered with. And I mean, it's a public contract, but it's great. It's got profit sharing in there or revenue sharing rather. They're paying a fee and then they're doing like the upgrades. I think that they're gonna even do the water. They're gonna pay to have the water set. Root Beer Barrel right now doesn't have water in it. So they're paying for a lot of this or whatever. So I think that it's out there for us possibly. And I know that the Oval Beach isn't the same as the Root Beer Barrel. People stop at the Root Beer Barrel that aren't, going to the beach, but I think, and maybe we'll do the RFPs and we'll find out that none of them are great and we were too, nervous to do it. But I think that we're remiss if we don't just try. And
Are we trying for this year?
yeah,
Okay, cool.
yeah. So what I'm gonna, well,
Scott.
first, what I want to do,
Cool.
what I want to do first is put a motion on the table and then we can have further discussion and then we are going to vote on it. Is that cool?
Yeah.
Okay, with that, I will entertain a motion for Oval Beach concession RFP.
Yep, I move to propose to city council to seek RFPs for Oval Beach concessions.
1 second.
Motion Roach, second Johnson. let's discuss now. I was gonna say, we're ready to take the vote. I feel like I know where this is going, but let's go ahead and have a conversation. So yeah, we just put it out there, put it out there really informally as to how I see this playing out. And again, it's really, this is just to take this to, we're not voting right now to have an RFP. We're voting to go to council because we need their permission to do anything, obviously, that involves finances. But that's where we're at with this. And then that's where I wanted to start.
So the decision would not be necessarily how much revenue we actually bring in versus them, because our revenue also eats up time and
Right,
staff
of
time.
course.
So we
Yeah,
would
no,
calculate that in.
to my mind, and that'll be something that
Mhm.
when we discuss it in council, that I want to bring up, we can't simply look at it like cost and, oh, well, we spent, $5,000 on hot dogs and, oh, but we got, $20,000. Well, there's 15,000. That's not all profit. We had
Right.
DPW time and no. Obviously, we need to take that into consideration when we discuss the finances of it. Absolutely. Yes.
Mhm. Scott, do you want to comment on that at all, or?
It'll be a big deal, that's for sure. But we've done this before in the past. This isn't something brand new. When I first started for the city, back in 2007, it was leased out. And then kind of just a little bit of the evolution of how it came to be is, we had a longtime Oval Beach manager. Her name was Linda Boltman. She worked for the city of Saugatuck in this very unique position where she was the beach manager in the summer and worked at DPW for the other 8 months out of the year. And, being a longtime employee in that position, she really wanted to take on the concession stand. And so she did some things like work with Sisters in Ink, and she got some logos created, and which they still have. We still have an account with Sisters in Ink. And she built up the inventory, went to food shows, and it's like, well, then she resigned, I would say about 3 years ago or so, maybe 2 to 3 years ago. And then it was just kind of Public Works after that. And so I've seen it. Yeah, exactly. And I've seen it be done both ways. I don't know if there were previous issues with leasing out the concession before. I wasn't really directly involved in that, but it seemed to work. And I guess worst case scenario, if it doesn't work for whatever reason, we always have the power of overseeing that contract, and we could always reabsorb that responsibility once again at Public Works if we had to. So.
In my view, we're just remiss if we don't look at it.
I agree, yeah.
Yeah,
Does that
Madam,
re-
Madam
that-
Chair, go ahead.
Does that
Sorry.
reduce the staffing needs then for DPW?
Yep.
Because a lot of the people you hire at Oval Beach, are they to work in the concessions? I'm just
Yeah,
wondering how's that
out of
work?
Oval Beach, we
Yeah.
hire approximately, depending on, how responsible people are, how many hours they want to work, roughly 20 to 25 employees at Oval Beach. And I would say roughly half of them are for concession stand staffing. And so that would reduce the workload for the staffing level that we need. Hopefully the leasee would be responsible for staffing their concession stand. And so that we can focus our energy more on, one, we have a brand new Oval Beach manager, and I want to work directly with this person to make sure that they're going to be here for a while. And that'll allow us to focus on the ticket booth, the main economic driver of the beach. And then also we can focus our effort, the beach patrol's effort, more on the safety protocols out there and just pounding it in everybody's head of what we already have in place, and then possibly building on what we, things that we can do better.
Um, m- Sorry,
No,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Madam Chair,
Please.
thank you. Just a couple of thoughts to add to Scott's thoughts. One, the infrastructure, right? So if we're gonna go out with an RFP and we're gonna have like food trucks or whatever the idea is, we have to make sure that we have like proper infrastructure. And as far as like the electrical outputs and just like, even just like the placement of the food trucks and or whatever the idea is. So something to keep in mind. Restroom facilities as well, just make sure those are properly maintained, which ties into the idea of like, if we go into an RFP, like what is their level of expectation and as far as like trash service, right? So if they're gonna be out there slinging food, whatever that food is, they also have to be out there, my opinion, is like picking up trash and maintaining their space. So that's something that could be worked into an RFP, and that happens all the time. Time commitments, right? So a lot of food vendors will be like, yeah, we want to be out there prime time, summer. But we do kind of have these shoulder seasons where there are a few customers out there still yet, and they want a little treat or a little snack. And so we have to like make that pretty clear if we do go
Rupert
forward.
Barrels, I need to send that to you and people should, it's very comprehensive and it does talk about you must be open 7 days a week from this time to this time, you know, the,
Sorry.
I was like, I feel like a dog looking around.
I was like, what?
Um,
Douglas,
but no, I don't know if you've seen the contract that they wound up going with. It's very detailed and I was impressed with it and it really spelled it out. And again, I mean, I know that Oval Beach is unique and I know that, you know, we've tried it before and it worked, but I think maybe we just didn't find the right vendor. So let's seek out an appropriate vendor and let's, you know, give this a real shot.
Yeah, I'm with you and yeah, just just set that expectation that, our staff is out there, even if it's a cold, windy day, we're still out there, so that will change. And vendors will not want to be out there because they don't make as much money on those days, understandable. Anyways, and then also the other thing to consider is like concessions, one thing, but then like how far do you all or the city council want to wrap in, like what is a concession? So are you doing like renting out tents and like chairs and like, so there's different ideas on that as well. So when we say concessions, are we just focused on food and beverage?
Is that our suggestion?
Margaritas, huh?
Is that our suggestion or is it?
It's coming from this group right now, so it's
I
like-
think chairs, floaties, you name it, are a great idea to rent out. I've seen them in a lot of other communities, not necessarily in Michigan, but California, Florida.
But I think that that's part of the RFP, like when we put together an RFP with council,
Yeah.
then we can put in, you know, tell us. So when you look at the questionnaire for the RFP, you can have a line item in there. Tell us about your level of interest in offering
I mean,
deck chairs.
I was just in
Yeah.
Italy and on the beaches, they brought stuff out to you. Hey, where are you sitting? They brought beach chairs out to you. It doesn't have to be at that level, of course, but I mean, they had everything available.
No doubt we can up our service at
Yeah.
Oval Beach, which is, I
Mhm.
mean, world-class in my mind as far as beaches goes. And Mykonos last year, and I remember thinking like, this beach has nothing on
Mhm.
Oval. And that's not just because I live here, but it's really that sand, anyway, so.
Yeah.
We don't need to keep going down that, but,
Madam Chair.
okay.
Yeah, to think about, a couple more like thoughts on that is like, when you go out with your RFP, do you have a single vendor who's doing concessions and doing chairs and cabanas and whatever else? Because what the city of Saugatuck has experienced is that we have private vendors from wherever, Jamie knows this, Scott Herbert knows this, like that want to come in and like set up private picnics and like,
Yeah, so I would advocate that to keep this simple and to start it, we're like, right now, we're not over there renting out cabanas and things like this. Let's try to get the concession stand working, you know, and replacing DPW from having to do it, as opposed to putting so much on our plate and setting us up for, that's what I would advocate. I would advocate that we seek out an RFP on the concessions for the food and drink. And then if it's working out really well, we want to elevate that,
You can start small and work your way.
start small and then pile on. Yeah.
okay.
Madam Chair, if I may just
Please.
add, I think that's smart, just kind of more like a direct replacement for the time being. But I think whoever leases the building out and what people will find is that additional offerings, although a nice thought, is really restricted by the amount of space that we have out there. So it's really going to be up to, time will tell if there's the capacity to add that or
I
not.
think that the spirit of this proposal should be to take the burden off of DPW and still have some nice offerings at the concession stand. And then if we decide to elevate Oval Beach's services in the future, we take that up separately. That's what I would propose.
I agree.
Totally agree.
And
Okay.
Scott, what were the, like our start and end for the concessions? Was it Memorial to Labor Day or what was DPW?
Yeah, it was Memorial Day to Labor Day, strictly. And then, staffing was always an issue. So we kind of like, if we didn't have the staffing, we'd even close the concession stand on Mondays. But except for holiday Mondays, but so weather always played a part, the amount of hours that employees always, that always plays a part. There's always issues with seasonal employees. So it just kind of varied, but generally speaking, the concession stand would be open from, I think roughly 11 a.m. until 6, I think it was 11 to 6. for
And then we
operations.
stopped taking money. It's Memorial to Labor. Is it money at the booth?
Right,
Okay.
yeah, after
After Memorial, so that kind of corresponds with each other.
And Scott, was it a break even or was it profitable?
It was profitable, but minimally. I think the numbers that I've gotten in the past were like maybe 40 grand. So basically the city staff anyway, we always just kind of viewed it more as a service that we're providing versus a real income driver.
It can be an income driver.
It
That
could.
was in
Mhm.
addition, but then you think about all those, the 10 employees or so.
Mhm.
Is that considered
No,
into
that was
that?
clearing 40 grand.
Clearing,
Yeah.
okay.
But not including probably your time and, the time and effort that it takes for the management of
Yeah,
DPW
yeah.
or city staff here or anybody, a lot of that,
sure.
there's not, when you do cost studies, sure, you've got direct labor that you can point to, like these 10 people
Mhm.
work for that. But what you're not typically counting in at that point is how much effort is it taking our city manager to have to deal with this or,
No, and time in the
superintendent-
off
Yeah,
season and the
exactly.
trainings, yeah.
Yes, so.
No, totally understand that. I
Them
think,
going to food safety classes
Yeah,
today,
no,
that's not
exactly.
cheap, yeah. I'm just saying, like a lot of that
It's
has a way of
true.
not getting absorbed in a cost
Sure.
study. Yeah.
And cleaning up the
Yeah,
machines.
overkill,
I
know,
think,
like-
look at that number,
Yes.
consider it.
Yeah,
I mean, I
and
know, again, we're
I
not
can tell
looking
you-
into it.
Douglas got, I want to say it was $10,000 that they're going to clear automatically for the rent on that. And then plus, I think 2% of profits or revenue. I'd have to look at it and it's available. It's public information. I can get it to
Mhm.
everybody at this table, but now likely on paper, will it clear $40,000? Probably not, I'm going to guess.
Mhm.
But at the same time, we need to talk about other revenue
agree.
things and we need
Then
to
you,
really operate efficiently.
and
at
then
the-
you have a business that knows what they're doing
Yes.
and they're gonna make the money. I mean,
Yes.
nothing against you, but
Don't take it.
yeah. You're not a restaurateur, you don't know how to run that stuff.
Yeah, like that ice cream machine out there, that's the bane of my existence.
It's
It's like, it is
everyone's existence.
really technical.
It is.
It's super technical. I hate that.
Person operates, he has the salt trucks and then he has the ice cream
The
machine
truth
and giving
with
them
those
bids.
It's tough.
The
But it's
playground and the
bigger
ice cream.
scale.
machine. Yeah, it is.
All right, so,
Probably been out there since you started.
Okay,
Which
s-
was
What's that?
when the ice cream machine, it's probably been out there since
Oh,
you
yeah.
started,
Yeah,
what,
we
back
bought a new
in
one a few years ago.
14 years ago?
But still. they're-
Yeah.
Anyways.
Okay,
A
so-
couple more thoughts and then I'll discuss, we'll talk about
Got
it
a
more.
donut machine that will make 4 dozen donuts.
Okay.
an hour.
Well, that's what the food
No,
vendor. will
That's a
do.
food vendor guy.
So speaking of food vendors, right, pricing control. Maybe this is just a personal feeling, kind of professional. We do keep our prices low for food. And, I guess this is more personal, just like, I see a lot of families going out there and like, it's really cool when you have like a family of 5 and you can buy, I don't know, 5 hot dogs and under $25 and, have a nice day at the beach. So food pricing was something else that you have to put in your
Food pricing was
RFP, like
something that was in
don't
the RFP.
gouge, right? You can't
Yeah.
elevate it in 4th of July weekend. Other things.
And
to
all of that
consider.
is
No
definitely-
food gouging.
Yes,
No
okay.
food gouging. And then, merch, right? Selling of shirts, trademarks, right? I mean, so the city of Saugatuck has a brand on Oval Beach. We have trademarks on that. And so do you want a vendor to be able to sell shirts where we could like make a profit off of that? So that's one other thing to consider. I think we dropped off of merchandise when COVID first set in because the story goes that they didn't want like people fitting stuff and
Yeah.
getting so close to one another. So that's something that can come back, but that could actually be a significant profit center for the city.
Mhm. I love
So I don't
that.
know if you want to hand that off to somebody that would bid on this or we do it ourselves. So,
I would say that falls under the umbrella of not, since we're not doing that right now.
okay,
Since it fell off,
We hold on
like,
to it.
let's talk about replacing the food and then if, again, to elevate a service now.
okay.
Now we're gonna do merch and so we get, is somebody here? Do we partner with Land Shark? What do we do? We've got options then at that
Okay.
point, so.
But you could also just look at gauge interest.
Yeah,
With the
yeah,
vendors, right?
yeah.
And if it seems like a match, it's.
But yeah, for right now, I would try to keep it as simple as possible, replace what we're doing there and get somebody
And I
professional
think the
to
most,
do it.
to me, the most important thing is doing the compostable stuff
Mhm.
and the biodegradable stuff.
Getting
instead
rid of
all
that
the
styrofoam.
So
I
if
agree.
they're,
Put that
I
in the
think we do
RFP.
baby
That should go in the
steps.
RFP too,
Yeah.
yeah, I agree.
That
Yep.
should go in there, yeah.
All
Well,
right.
cool. Well, yeah, I guess keep it simple.
Mhm.
We're not offended by this idea. It's been done before. It'd be great to get back to it, quite frankly, and then offer some tacos out
Well, it
there
makes
as
no
as a beach goer, like, yeah. And then if we can
No
work in the
nachos,
margaritas and like
no
review that
nachos
whole
and no
ordinance.
Give the
No,
people what they
cheese.
want, the people want tacos, yeah.
Keep it simple.
It doesn't
Okay.
make sense to me that the PPW runs it. It
Absolutely.
really doesn't.
So with that, we do have a motion on the table. We call the question. Is it going to be roll call or voice? Okay, all in favor of referring to city council that we take up an RFP for Oval Beach concession, please say yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, on to study group updates. Mr. Charrick, would you like to take invasive species? Are they sleeping now or?
Fine, yeah.
Retired.
I did see some snow fleas the other day, though.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah.
It's snow, I don't know what snow
And-
fleas are a
They,
thing.
they look like, they look like someone sprayed pepper on the snow,
Oh,
and they're live, and they're just everywhere.
They-
Billions.
they weren't in your bed.
No, they weren't.
Okay, well, good to hear. All
But they
right.
might have been, oh, never mind. So, they're still sleeping as far as, I haven't done much on it, the last month,
All right.
2 weeks.
Madam Chair, if I could jump in on this for just a second, something that you may be interested in is I noticed during the tree risk assessment tour with Ed, that there's a lot of ailanthus trees, trees of heaven along the guardrail on Oval Beach, or Perryman Street from Park Street going up the first hill, kind of by Jane Underwood's place. And then also as you go up the second hill, as you approach the Dune Grass entrance, there's more ailanthus trees growing, and those attract
Spell that.
ALEN.
ITHISSE.
Yeah.
All right.
LMNOP.
You called it tree of heaven.
Tree of heaven, yeah,
All
tree
right.
of heaven. They're
And they're
fast
on the-
growing.
They're actually on the guardrail, and they grow other places too, so they're more.
They do,
than-
but it's not the tree that we're worried about. It's that they attract lantern flies, and so the DNR recommends that they get removed. So that might be worth us looking at, probably me to look into, to get those removed. But there are quite a few of them, so it would make a difference.
How do
tree.
we go about removing them?
Some of them, there's overhead utilities, and so we'd have to maybe ask
Are they
consumers.
vines?
No, they're trees. Yeah,
Well, vines can be trees too.
yeah, fast growing trees. But yeah, probably a contracted service so that they could lower pieces down piece by piece, and then DPW could clean it up.
Is it, and can it be done in the winter when the ground?
Oh, yeah, that'd be ideal. But I guess the reason that I'm bringing it up is just you can take a look at them, or you and I can meet and I can show you what they are. And then if you're out hiking, or if anyone sees any more,
Yeah.
just knowing what they are is,
Well, we got to make sure everyone in the public knows that what we're doing, because if you
Mhm.
go down and start chopping down stuff, you know it's going to happen, so. And why we're doing it, to inform everyone.
All right.
People send us gift baskets.
That they will,
It's those Park Street people.
it's a part,
Um,
people.
All right,
Time you take a,
let's meet the next
chainsaw to
couple weeks. I'll
something.
tell you.
Okay. Airport property. I had the pleasure of hiking this with Mr. Herbert, Mr. Heiss, and our legal counsel as part of the initiative to have council taking a look at what next steps would be as far as, kind of opening up the trails and legitimizing those. Happy to report that things went really well with the attorney. We just wanted to make sure that, are we in compliance? Is there anything we need to look out for? He had a couple of things where it's like, well, you might want a little fence over here so people, where the sand mine kind of is, and to make sure that someone doesn't, drive down there or whatever. But overall, a really favorable report from our attorney, and was very happy to see that. And no, things went really well. So I think we're still kind of moving along in the exploration of getting that opened up. I don't know if you have something you want to add, city manager?
No, I think the majority of city council is in favor of moving this project forward, and we'll start out again small with the rustic trails that already exist. And yeah, the good news is the attorneys didn't have any, my main concern was ADA issues. They did not see any, just based on the topography and just using the existing trail system as is. And we'll start there. We'll talk about scope of work as it relates to trail maintenance and kind of what the expectations are. So that's the next step with the city council, but I think we can open these trails pretty quick.
Love it. Anybody, questions? Okay. We'll move on to the Blue Star Multimodal Path. Did you want to take this?
I-
Member?
Oh, go. I'm sorry.
Pretty
Two
pictures we
of you?
get to look at.
Do you-
Happy to report that we
we've been talking about this since this committee was formed, you know, that one of the things you'll be doing is weighing in on the pallet sign designs, and we
Mhm.
finally have some. And they really just,
Here they are.
they just came in late Friday, was it, Brian?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
like-
Yeah, whenever they,
So with that, I don't know if you want to.
Sure, yeah, happy to address this. So this, if you recall, the city of Saugatuck is addressing the pallet sign and the street crossing with the potential of a signal there.
yeah.
So we're trying to do this all in combo, but we have a separate budget set aside for this design for the city of Saugatuck. And we're all very, very sensitive to the pallet sign. And there is a recognition that the pallet sign has to be shifted a few feet. But we're using this as like an opportunity to elevate the pallet sign in that whole intersection. By elevate, I mean enhance and or make it more pretty or more beautiful. And so we have, I think we have 3 different designs. And what I would encourage this committee to do is just kind of look at the aesthetics of the pallet sign. And as far as like the engineering goes, like how do you get across the street or the signals?
Yeah.
Leave that to staff, like we'll take care of that, leave that to the engineers and staff. But the aesthetics, right? And so 3 different designs. And so one piece of information, I did find out that we have irrigation at that location. So that's cool. So we can do both like, well, 1, water in the trees, but 2, have perennials and annuals that we can water and kind of change those out. So something to keep in mind. We have electric there too. So as we think about lighting, although the pallet sign has its own lighting, I get that, but just a couple of like infrastructure things to keep in mind that we do have available electric and water.
Do we have that much space?
But
Is it?
we're limited on
No,
space.
it dropped
I had
so
just a
quickly.
question. I did it. So I noticed that on the, I'm sorry, I feel like I'm interrupting. Did you?
We are interrupting.
I know.
Sorry.
So let me just, so you have like a basic plan, like, and then like a silver plan, and then like a kind of a platinum plan that's gonna be presented. But it again, it's all like based on aesthetics.
Okay.
And then like, yeah, flip through again. And so this is another like design. Yeah, we are very constrained with like the geographic space that we can work on. But I think that's okay, because the idea is just like to not move that sign.
I was gonna say, because the
Too
basic
much.
plan
Does not
says that
move
you
it.
don't, doesn't move the sign.
Yeah, the other 2 move.
Yes,
That's what
yeah.
that's the only major
Mhm.
difference I saw.
Well, that,
A
right.
2,
Well, yeah,
a 2-foot shift.
Even on the basic one, because the
Um,
basic one said the sign would stay in place.
yeah.
Narrow, I don't believe that's true. There's
Yeah,
no
wow.
way.
I'm
There's
just
no
telling you
way.
what C2A, you see it.
Yeah, I was confused on that one
Yeah,
too.
'cause I thought it was a
Well,
foregone
But yeah,
conclusion. that we
but then
could
when you
do
look at the
it.
visual next to it, the
Subject
sidewalk is
changing the
exactly the same.
street?
So I don't know how they do that.
I'm gonna say there's no way that.
But look at the, I don't know if you have the, thing in front of you.
We do. You can
It was the
pull
top-
that
the
up.
first one, the basic
The
says that it
second
does not
one
move the
that's 8
sign.
pages. Okay, this one. So if you scroll down to the top, see existing sign location.
Yeah,
See
Yeah.
features, existing sign location. So then when you go down to the next one, it's gonna say it's moved, it's moved.
sign
Sign
relocated, yeah.
Okay. Well,
But then when you look at the sidewalk, it's identical and it
Yeah.
doesn't look like there's any
must
more
have
distance
skipped
with
that.
them moved. So that's.
It's
what's
not gonna-
made.
Hey, Ryan, is
Yo.
the street going to be moved? I mean,
Well,
is the
that's-
turn going to be changed?
Yeah, that's part of the plan.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I guess what you're asking us is the physical look of it.
Yeah,
They'll work
exactly.
out all the details.
Yeah.
We just
If
gotta
we have to
tell
shift
them
that
what we
1 foot or
like.
2 foot. I mean, I know it's cool to leave it in place.
I love the guardrail.
The point is let's decide on what we like.
Like the plants and the
Yes,
stones.
yes.
If I
And
may,
it's
I'd like,
not- it's
if
what
I
it
may, I'd like
is.
to recognize Lisa Mize has been patiently waiting to comment, and I'd like her to be able to do so at this time.
Thank you. I love the designs. I think they're amazing and beautiful, and I think it's gonna look great. The one question I had was, will there be any plans to put something there for all the event banners that people like to put up throughout the year? I know currently they're placed underneath that pallet sign, but with the different designs, landscape designs, it may not be the best placement anymore for a banner. I'm not sure. So I'm just wondering if that's been thought about, like, what can we do to make banner placement easy for DPW?
That's a good question.
That's a good question. Thank you, Lisa. We haven't thought about it. At least I haven't. So yeah, these plans are pretty new. But no, that's really something important to consider. Because I don't think we want to clutter our
Box. That's
beautiful flower box with the sign.
No.
An
So can we
expensive
offset it maybe?
flower box. That's expensive flower box right there. Okay, let's
But
go
we
through
haven't
them.
thought
Let's
about it,
go,
but that's
'cause
a
I
good
gotta
point.
back to work. Sorry about
All right. So the aesthetics, so normally when I go into projects like this, I'm like, okay, what's the natural stone in the area?
Yeah.
Around this part, I don't know, it's kind of river stone, like I'm not quite sure. And then the other thing that I consider is like, is it too commercialized? Cause we're not like a very commercially place and we tend to be more fun and organic and authentic.
Artsy.
Artsy,
Mhm.
so like, does it look too commercial? That's the other thing that I consider. The landscape, I'm not too worried about that. We'll figure that
Third
out.
thing you should consider is a 4-year interest. If it's all gonna die out in the winter, you don't want it to do that. You want it
Right
to
on,
stand out,
yeah.
so you want to use some evergreen. So you want it to be pretty 4 times a year,
Mhm.
4 seasons.
Right.
So those are the things we want to look at.
I
Oh.
also think for protection of the sign, like you can't really see where that edge is on the right-hand side, but if kids are biking past that kid, the third one option, kids will go right into that bed. It's so close
Where's-
to it and
where's the
kids on
third?
bikes are on, yeah, that's.
I don't
just-
think there's a real risk of us choosing that third option.
Yeah, okay. I'm just saying, I think protection of the sign, if that is wrapping around it, is important because kids are wild on bikes.
So we're even looking at the
That's-
color of
And
the
they might actually
on
try to go
sign.
in there on purpose, so.
Great point. And then also the other thing.
Raising boys.
The other thing to consider is landscape maintenance, right? Because our DPW
Yeah.
has to go in there with weed whackers and or land or mowers. And so like with that third option, like how do you even really, that's
Did you-
very
Is that the
high.
third option right there?
Yeah, that's tricky to weed whack
Hmm.
and run a mower through and it's just
So
very
where
complicated.
are we at with this decision process is my question. Like,
Y'all so this is your first review of these options?
And it looks like they're coloring or painting the sign color to the post, so some are green and some are black.
Oh, yeah, don't touch the
Told them not to
color.
touch the
Everything.
sign.
has to
Okay.
stay the
Yeah, I
Probably
think, yeah.
just-
Got
Graphics.
Do not touch the sign.
I wanted,
Well, you don't,
That's
Yeah.
you, because you're our landscape
Yeah.
expert.
Well-
What do you think?
I think the third one's gonna be tough to maintain. The first, I also like to use the kind of the local rock.
Mhm.
So what is, it's that one and what's the other one?
There's like
Have a
a,
local rock?
like a more field
We've got the
stone.
field stone, yeah. We've got
was
the
the
field
first
stone.
one.
That looks too
Mhm.
70s to me.
Yeah, and you know, I don't know, that just, to me, it just seems so perfect.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just, it seems like we could almost soften some of this hardscape. I like this, I like the use of the stone. I think it's pretty and I think it'll pull out in the winter.
I
But
like
it's,
that one.
it's almost like if we could soften it, not make it
How about
so.
option 3, which is really the fourth one on there?
Is there, yeah, is there
Keep
another
going,
one?
'cause
I
there's
thought there
some-
was some,
There's some field stone or whatever that is stone on the end with the fence in the
yeah.
middle.
Oh, no, do we like that little fancy thing?
I don't like the
No.
fancy
Yeah, I don't
thing.
like the fancy thing either.
Scott doesn't like. it.
Mm-mm.
I could, if I may,
Please.
I can kind of give you DPW's input.
hit it.
We
Absolutely.
Yeah, hit it.
reviewed this as a team up there and we hate the fence.
We don't like the fence.
The fence is no good.
No.
We much prefer the stone retaining wall, but it's kind of just like an abrupt wall.
It
And we
is an
thought maybe
abrupt
like
wall.
just stair step it a little bit, with
Yeah,
like a shorter
tear it
retaining
in.
wall in front of it.
Mm-hmm.
With the basic one, if you could pull that up, Jamie. We love the red bud tree, the purple flowering red bud.
Mhm.
Do we have a deciduous ornamental tree out there already that, I mean,
We
is that a
do,
crabapple? or
there's a
something?
cherry.
A cherry?
Yeah, it's a,
See, and that's got that backdrop of arborvitae.
Mhm.
So that's
those
got
are
the
kind of
green.
getting to the
That'd be
point where
great.
they've outgrown their useful
I'm just saying,
space.
but it has the evergreen for the winter. So,
Exactly,
you know, that
yeah.
I'm just saying that I love the,
I'm sorry.
No, no.
What about those stones? I have them in my yard that when I had my yard re-landscaped over there, they're just big
Those
and
big
they're flat. and you s- Yes,
Sandstone,
but you
yeah, that's
set
what I
'em on
got in
top,
mine in
like,
front of my
I've got whole
house
steps
too.
that go down in my backyard all the way down. That's 10 feet of the, and they're just huge. I mean,
And they're
piled-
more natural looking.
Yes, they're
than
natural
this.
and
This
they
is-
don't
This
grow
to me
weeds out
doesn't even look
through
like
'em.
Saugatuck, but
Yeah.
I like the ideas of the stone. But
Yeah.
those layered.
They lay,
Yeah.
yeah, you
Ryan's
set it
point,
so that
though,
you
like,
make,
Then you don't have to use concrete.
you make
or
steps out of them
Nothing,
and they're not
no.
concrete and they're,
Mm-mm.
yeah. and
Our parks guy hated the stones because he's trying to weed whack in between all the,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
where if you have a
No,
flat.
these are like
No, these are
huge,
big.
like
Okay.
5 feet wide. I mean,
Huge.
making, and then the people that design, the landscape designers, they will put them together like a puzzle,
Mm.
right? You would show them the area that they go around and then they come and they set them and they level them. You can walk up
On
and
your
down.
phone?
I don't know if we tried, but no, but I mean, I think that we should start talking about this. I don't think
Make a
that
decision
we were
has to
supposed
be
to
made.
leave today with a landscape design, were
No.
we?
No.
Okay,
I-
I just want to make sure that we're good at
I'd be-
it.
I'd
I
be
was
really
prepared for that,
impressed.
so, okay.
Yeah, Scott, do you want to tell them about the fountain that you've been talking about with the DPW?
The what?
The fountain?
Fountain.
He's-
Just kidding.
Oh,
Well, it's by the splash pad that goes beyond that.
So,
It's like in Grand Haven during the Coast Guard Fest. We wanted that behind the soccer.
Is there gonna be lighting out here? I know the sign lights up, but any
I
like
would
up
say
lighting or
people-
anything?
I
like
would
that?
say leave it alone. Just like that sign is like, yeah.
I'm just, well, but you've got people crossing.
Well, there's light, I
Oh,
mean, there's lights around the trees.
I'm not
the
saying we have to, I'm
arborvitae.
just talking
Intersection
about
lighting.
it. Yeah,
Okay,
intersection lighting.
Okay, yes, the answer is yes.
Mhm.
I wanted to just bring up, if you looked at option 3, where it talks about, can you bring that up? The other one where it gives you the high points about it.
There you go.
Yeah, go to option 3. And see how it says additional roadway construction to achieve this WB-67 turn radius compliance. We have not met with C2A since they released these, so I haven't been able to ask any questions. When I Googled that, that's like wheelbase, something that basically makes it so big trucks can make their turn easier.
Mhm.
I don't know if that's a safety issue that we need to consider or,
I
needs
think
to
at
be
this point we
considered.
follow Ryan's advice, so.
Well,
we'll
right,
about
but I
the-
just mean that was the one that was pricier, and I don't know how much of the priciness was due to having that additional
All good,
potential
yeah.
safety factor. I just
Okay.
wanted to, mention that. So I mean, I'm obviously, like I said, I had to Google it, so I have no
Yeah.
no input
Yeah,
beyond that.
yeah, we'll take care of city and engineers will take care of that.
Right,
Kind
so-
of turn radius stuff.
So
and
are we on a
issues.
time restriction as far as when they want our response back as far as, okay?
No,
Um,
go ahead.
I would just, what I don't want to do is continue this long meandering conversation if we don't have a deliverable today.
I don't think we do.
And so I think that we should all kind of go back and think about things like, I really like what Ruth had to say that, whatever we have in there as far as landscape should be
Four
something that's good for
seasons.
4 seasons.
The banner.
Whatever we have for stone
Simple for
should be
me.
something that's horrible to pull weeds and all that stuff. And so, but we want some, so I think we all are kind of on the same page. We want a natural
More
look,
of an organic look to it.
more of
yeah.
organic,
Mhm.
natural look, 4 seasons of landscaping. And I think there we just kind of, we kind
Yeah.
of jump off from that point. And then, what I'll do is before our next meeting, I'll follow up with everybody a week before and just say, hey, kind of come with some ideas.
And the idea about the banner too.
Yes,
What do
the
you think
idea for
about
the banner, and I think that we should just kind of take this as the jumping off point. We've seen what it looks like and go from there.
And I would encourage native plantings as much as
Absolutely.
possible, because I think we want that to be part of our image.
It's part of our stated mission is sustainability and, yeah, absolutely.
Can I just
Okay.
throw a small wrench in the spokes a second?
Yes.
I'm sorry, but
Come
I
on.
just want to say this just to be thought provoking. That's all. So the Saugatuck pallet sign is neon lights and those are old and I only know of one person, he's in my phone, named Ted, the neon sign guy, because he's the only person that I know of, when those lights go out, he can fix it and repair it or make new letters for it. So my worry over time is that Ted will no longer do neons, and I don't have any idea of anybody that would work on neons. So just to
Madam Chair.
so when I hear, Kelly bring up a good point with like, kids, doing stunts and whatnot around that sign, potential for damage increases. My blood pressure goes up trying to keep the thing on and operating. So
Yeah.
Madam Chair, I have talked to Scott Herbert about this at one point, 2 years ago maybe. And I said, get this guy that's in your phone to build some of these lights and then put them in storage
Yeah.
for 5, 6, 7, 8 years, whenever you need them.
Yeah,
But there's another human out there in the.
there's another.
If you know of anyone, that's a thought. That's the point of being thought
But
provocative.
I mean,
If you know
Scott's got a
someone.
good point.
Here's
These
what
lights
you
go
got.
out, there's like, it's just like the guy that painted the radome 30 years ago with
Yeah.
a lifetime warranty when he was 60 and he's dead now. So it's like, yeah, we gotta jump on this when we can.
Yeah, and with the neon, it's like, there's the letters, but they all flow together. They have to be like filled with gas to all flow together to be, and so it's not like I could just get like an S and then screw it back in and then we have an S. It's like I need somebody that has the technical skills to make it all flow together.
There
too.
is, on Mike's sign, that Coral Gables sign.
It's a thing.
That's not neon anymore, but it is like a ribbon of lights that looks like neon. So there's other alternatives, but right now I think we stick with
Yeah.
as much of the neon as we can. Does that even touch that sign? Whew.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, reach out to your dude, get a.
Dude,
get-
I'll
get-
try
get
my
the-
best,
just
but-
see if
Van,
he's
or
live,
Van
yeah.
Single will come up at you.
Oh, hey, I'm just highlighting
Yeah.
the potential.
Let me say at this point, Lisa, is your hand raised again, or did you just neglect to shut it?
No, I put it back up just
Okay.
because there's a company in Grand Rapids that does neon. So if you need another vendor for that, I can try to get the name for you.
There you go.
Yes,
There you
please.
go.
Thank you. All right, so I think for now, our primary takeaway from that is for us to consider it, because I do want to make progress. What I don't want to do is just table this and then not talk about it again. Like, let's make progress, but I just don't think it's an efficient use of time in our meeting. People have other things to do today, so let's not keep that going that way. Village Square and Playground, Glenna, Kelly, want to take the updates on this?
God,
Yeah, I'm happy to.
no, I was gonna say that you demoed it.
We did it. It's gone.
It's gone.
Banners up yet?
And the
or-
banner's up, you guys. It
Oh,
looks
We might move
beautiful.
it. I don't love where it's at.
I-
It's kind of sticking right out
I
there,
didn't get a
but
chance to drive by it this
I
morning.
wasn't
Yeah.
gonna say anything, but
please do.
yeah.
We don't take any offense,
Um,
so.
2 weeks ago, Monday, it came down and instead of a true demo, it came down with every bolt and every screw. And I was walking into yoga and Cody was over there and I was like, oh, it's coming down. And they had that thing down in 3 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard you across town.
Yeah. I They hadn't put the fencing up yet, so I went right.
Yeah, so that, it went really well, surprisingly. We do have it disassembled laying on the ground at Public Works, and it got pretty covered up with snow, but I have somebody that's willing to take the equipment and hopefully she can breathe life into it once again, so with the new post,
That's
but.
cool.
And then I just a small update if I can. I've been in contact with Jeremy from Sinclair, and I asked him, so now that we have it decommissioned, I'd like to, we're supposed to have good weather for the next couple of weeks. I really want to work with him right now and do all the things that we can do to make sure that, we can take advantage of the mild weather and
Mhm.
keep the process going. And so he's gonna come down, within the next couple of weeks, and we'll go over site prep, removing a lot of like the thick layers of old mulch that are
Mhm.
deteriorating in there. And then we did talk a little bit about like, hey, when's it gonna be, the new playground gonna be delivered? So it's likely to be delivered late February, early March. We'll take possession of it. They already have some components of it, like the musical pieces.
Okay.
They're already there, so. Yeah, for sure. And so then we start talking about dates and what this looks like. So because summer's gonna be here soon and we need this thing up and running. So we threw out the idea of possibly April 15th for the community build aspect of the project. This is, a lot of places have spring break the first week of April, maybe the second week of April. So that pushes us past most people's spring breaks. We will have to reschedule or add bonus time to a brush and leaf collection because there is a scheduled one for that week, but we could probably make an exception and allow people to put their material out for a little bit longer that week. Then, so what that looks like, the community build, it's likely a 3-day build, but we want to allow for a week just to, weather, whatever can come up is likely to. And then after that, Sinclair wants another week, possibly 2, to have their installers go through and make sure that everything is done correctly and torqued down correctly. So yes, by all means, we won't rush that process. And then we're thinking either the week of the probably May 6th, open it
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
for
Let's do
everybody.
it.
So
Wow,
Cutting,
that's like
yeah.
before,
I love it.
before Memorial Day.
Yes.
So I think
We're
great.
thinking maybe
If
the
everyone's good with those dates, then I want to work on maybe solidifying those with Jeremy.
15th through the 15th,
I'll-
16th and 17th is what we're thinking.
I'll follow up with you in an email with
Okay.
Jeremy.
We can have a ribbon cutting
Yeah.
ceremony.
Yeah, oh yeah. we-
Whoa.
Yeah.
We have to
yeah.
celebrate.
Big.
We
do.
Hot air balloons.
Yes.
No balloons,
No balloons.
Neon,
yeah.
neon balloons.
Yeah.
but maybe hot dogs.
Yeah, I'm the yellow.
At a low price.
That's great.
Yeah, so again, we do have a brush and leaf collection. So like if we do the community build on the 15th, we have a scheduled brush and leaf collection on the 16th and 17th. So hopefully if everyone's okay with it, I was thinking maybe we could just, instead of reschedule the brush and leaf collection, we would just make an exception for that one to allow residents to have their piles out
Or
without.
day or week,
Yeah,
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
Technically, it's against the ordinance, but I think if we frame it as like bonus time that versus removing something, it'll go.
Yes. I
Better for
think that's
everybody.
really wonderful. I
And
love
the-
the idea.
So,
Madam
all
Chair,
right.
Yes.
I'm pretty proud of this committee. But this
You're
is
not gonna
your.
cry, are you?
Oh, a
I'm not
little
in the mood
bit,
for
just
that.
there's a little tear. I mean, this is the first project that you guys all coalesced on and like moved forward. And you found grants and you're making it happen. So that's pretty cool. It's
I'm
like,
proud of us too.
yeah,
Yeah,
check this box, get this win and move forward
I think
with
so.
some other projects. You should be proud of yourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Jeremy's good with the timing and all that? Everything's
He's
coming?
good.
in
He's gonna be
time?
on spring break April 1st, so the
Okay.
first week. So he'll get back and get to work with
15th is
us.
Good for.
Yeah, that's a good.
Yeah, let's
Because
put it
we're
in,
back to
put it in the
7,
books.
so.
Do it.
Prior to this committee getting together, Jeremy and I have been talking about this for over 2 years now at this point. So we had a very similar conversation today about like, hey, we're getting it across the finish line. So
Right.
like,
Yeah.
One of many projects. That's what we're here for.
And then who gets, I think Mr. Muncy gets to play on the playground equipment first.
That's
correct?
fine. Happy to- I'm not proprietary over that.
Touch that.
All right, we've got
Okay.
a couple more comments on this. First of all, you're awesome. That's a great update. So thank you for
Mhm.
doing that and being proactive. I appreciate you. And then we did find out from the vendor that the design, and obviously we were trying to do a good design, a great design, but we didn't have specific benchmarks that we were trying to hit, but the design did it's designated as a project of excellence for meeting best practices in youth fitness for sliding, swinging, spinning, climbing, brachiating, is that how you say it? Brachiating and balancing. And then the other thing that we really did put a lot of effort into this is that it's a project of excellence for universal design. So for kids with disabilities or anyone with disabilities to be able
Nice.
to utilize it better and much better than it was in the past. And so there's 2 little signs that we can have on site. So we're deciding
Good.
one, if we want them. They have QR codes and that takes demographics of our visitors. And so we've been in contact with the CVB on if it's appropriate for them to have that information and then also just share it with City Hall. So we'll see who's coming, what their experience is with and engaging with our playground. So that's something that will have to go through the historic district as well. So we're working on that. And then Glenna and I met with Eric over at the Saugatuck Douglas Historical Society, because as you know, this is Singapore themed and we want to figure out how we can pull that through. He is fantastic. He was great to work with. So they have those, what they're calling the markers projects, and you guys have seen those where it's like kind of the triangulated signs around town. So we were wondering if this could be a part of that they're already doing. So they did 6 locations for those in 2022, 4 sites in 2023, and they're looking at 4 sites in 2024, one of which is Village Square.
Mhm.
However, it's the goal of that is really to bring history to life at the location that happened, right? And because this is more imagining, so Singapore does not exist at the site of the playground, we're just bringing it to life through play. So he didn't feel that it fit that project, but they're more than willing to work with us. Unfortunately, with the amount of content and the fact that they typically have an adult audience and we want to make sure this is adult and child engagement. They think this is more like 2025, which I think is fine for us because again, we will have to figure out the sourcing or the funding for this. He is getting back to us on costs. The signs that they do currently have about a 10-year lifespan, so they last a good long time and they're very familiar with the materials that they need to use. But he said in the interim that they would be interested in doing maybe some big picture signage of Singapore, maybe in the back, and we could say like a coming soon and a little bit of educational engagement, and those could be there for a year or so until we, really
They're
flesh out
really
what-
good at what they do.
I think they're amazing. And he
Mhm.
was showing us a few
Mhm.
pieces on site that they have at the History Museum
Cool.
over there. It's all really cool.
It's all great.
And I
stuff.
think it's all pretty inexpensive and doable for
Mhm.
us.
And to
um,
bring the pictures of Singapore there, I mean, that is
And blow them
so
up.
cool.
So there's be like
Yeah.
3x4, 2x3 or
Yep.
something on posts and, some
Yep.
verbiage just to sort of pull that through and have people start to look at it that way and
Yep.
then have it. I mean, we're thinking about like, scavenger hunts and things like that with the permanent stuff. So the kids are engaging with the playground in that way and sort of imagining what it would be like to live in Singapore.
Like a creative
almost
play
could be
kind of
like a-
thing where they,
Like a what?
a creative play. So instead of just, go find the canoe, it's pretend like you were a Potawatomi
Yeah,
Indian.
no, that's cool.
Looking for food in the river or something like that. And then they go and they actually act it
Another-
out.
Another thing would be cool, I mean, you hear about these artists that are bringing these pieces of art to life for the Braille, for the people that can't see, is almost do a map of Singapore where you can touch it and feel what happened there.
Nice.
And-
I like
I
that.
mean, how cool is something like that? That's a neat idea to bring that history down there.
So that
Great call.
is in motion.
Good.
And we'll just continue to have the conversation and update you guys. And they're super excited because they've never done anything for children and this is totally in their wheelhouse.
Yeah.
And they've got some great people. The way it works is like he is the only one that is a paid employee over there. And then they have this
Yep.
robust group of volunteers and they've got some really great people that have done the sign. And so they know about it. He's taken it to the board. They're super excited. It's just a matter of what their bandwidth is.
Right.
So.
Yeah, they're
The
good.
best thing to come out of this was this like April 15th build date. I'm
Oh,
date.
so excited.
Yep.
That's gonna be here in 2 minutes. Yeah,
well.
okay. Last item on the group study updates, Park Street, Mount Bald improvements and AT&T status. Oh, just a small one. Okay.
Mine's not quite as exciting as this last one.
I do know that Park Street met this.
We
month,
did
and
meet,
so-
and we talked and we can get into it at another time because we're getting pretty long here. But the big thing that came out of the meeting is that we want to resurrect that engineer plan to try and get a walkway down there. It is dangerous. We've been talking about this for 30 years, getting something there. Let's put that in motion and pull out those 3 plans and maybe get a 4th one that we can work with for our beloved corridor, Park Street, and get a walkway down there. So I
Argument
just
for
think we
me, I
need
agree
to
with
pull the engineer in and let us sit and talk as Park Street, as the Public Works part, and just get something done. It's just what we want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talking about a sidewalk down
Yep.
Park Street.
We're talking about a
Yeah.
sidewalk down, and I'm not talking about this big, beautiful, grandiose sidewalk. We're talking about something that fits with that natural character of that beautiful corridor. The material's beautiful. There's no perfect planning for, or landscape or anything, but a walkway that makes it safe.
Mhm.
Because to
Absolutely-
be quite
absolutely
honest, we're not
necessary.
really slowing those people down enough, and it's scary.
Yep,
Mhm.
I agree.
It is. So.
Um.
And we
Mount-
also want to work, I guess we did talk, so we want to work on traffic calming things, like maybe down the road, creating that as a district where we can pull in art pieces there, whether they're natural, like driftwood or the deer or some, but slow people down with different, unique, beautiful ways.
Oh, to that.
Instead
point,
of
that'd
just
be
the
cool.
the signs and stuff.
Is the stop sign
Yeah,
still
it's,
play?
it's still in play.
Okay.
Yeah, still in play.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we want to thank you for the 2 3-way stops, the crosswalks, our little sign down at the Chain Ferry. Stuff like that, and it just always making it safe down that beautiful place of ours.
Okay.
So,
Mount Bald improvements and AT&T status. Want to put these together or?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
All right, so AT&T.
they're still here?
They're hanging with us. They're hanging tough.
Nice.
So the city council approved a lease for the AT&T project, which is very positive for getting cell service in the radome. Through that project, the city council asked for 3 things, maybe 4. Restoration of the vegetation along the stairs. So we're going to try to work with AT&T to provide some money for that. Restroom improvements. So either I should figure out a better word for this, poop house
That's good.
at the bottom of the stairs. And or the other idea that we're exploring is the pump house, which the Historical Society runs and operates through a lease through the city, where there's already existing restrooms.
Are there restrooms in there?
So
There's one potty.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'll make a comment when you're done,
Mhm.
because I just talked with Eric about this.
Okay, yeah, so there's one restroom, there's one potty in there. I don't know if it's still operating. Last time I went in there.
But your dad potty.
True that. So somebody used to live there. Back in the day, the city entered into a lease with a private owner. And so last time I went in there was a restroom facility. So that's another idea is for the city to work with the Historical Society to put more restrooms in there. So that's one thing we're looking at, or two things that we're looking at. And the other one, it's the third thing.
Stairs.
Nothing with the stairs with the
Painting of the
18.
radome.
Painting of the radome. Thank you so much. So I think the total ask is like 85,000 for all of these things combined. Painting of the radomes and important and complicated. So yeah, that's where the project stands at the moment.
But we do have we did approve the lease agreement with AT&T, and that's important to
Good.
note. So we are moving forward with that.
The restrooms.
Yes. Okay. So when we were talking with Eric about the Village Square project, we mentioned the museum, and he said the bathroom is incredibly old. They do not allow visitors to use it as it is. It's like below
I didn't even know
grade,
that
and so there's
there was
actually
one.
like no power to flush. So
Oh.
so it works for employees, but it just can't keep up with traffic. That building has a historical designation, so nothing to the exterior could be changed. He did say potentially inside, something could be done to it. And he said, they have leased that since the 90s, he said. And they've put a lot of work into it. They take pride in it, but they are open to changes, collaboration, and having any of us go through it to take a look. And he has keys to it. So he said anytime this winter that we want to go out and just take a quick peek and see what, we see. Because I told him, I said, I talked to Steve Hutchins after we had talked, who manages that on the regular. I think he's been managing it for 12 years. And just shared that we do have a Bald Head study group and we're working on this. And since they're a part of it and we're trying to make it a cohesive space, that we do want to bring them into the conversation. So that's sort of where it landed. So he's happy to have us out, have the conversation. He's unsure of what the capability will
Sure,
be there.
yeah.
Yeah.
City's unsure as well.
What was AT&T's gig on the redoing the washrooms where they are?
So when we did our archaeological review, because city was gonna build a new restroom facility and an equipment room for the generator for the AT&T equipment. That finding came out poorly
Mhm.
and we were not allowed to build on that site. And so the idea is to get AT&T to kind of do the original investment that they were going to make in a restroom, but we can only use the existing footprint of facilities. So
Yeah, but
that's
even
either
that's a plus.
yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, no, yeah, it's definitely a win.
Mhm.
So it's either the poop house or potentially the pump house.
Well,
But
financial wise, we've got the plumbing there where it is now.
Mhm.
And to redo the pump house would be probably
Stupid.
a lot more.
And we do, I don't know that I've shared them with you. We had some renderings done. John Moxie from FNV did some renderings on what it would take to keep the bathrooms in the existing location. I'll share those with you guys if I haven't already. And they're really nice. There would be 2 bathrooms, and so there wouldn't be, men's and women's, but just 2 bathrooms, universal design, wheelchair accessible and all of that, but there would just be 2 bathrooms in that one area, but it would keep it within that same footprint right now. Personally, I'm in favor of that plan as opposed to trying to work around a historic building that doesn't have outside access and all that. So that's where I'm leaning. That's where my head is. Again, I don't even vote on this committee, so just so you know how much my opinion is worth.
And we don't need to worry about the generator or anything like that.
No, that's up top.
yeah, it's gonna be on the
Yeah.
top next to the radome itself. And then I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the fact that I predict AT&T is gonna move forward with this project. Through this, they're gonna have to maintain their existing the city's existing conduits, and that there may be the requirement for lifting off some of the decking at the upper platform. So that's kind of another conversation that's happening right now about like possibly we're gonna have to redo the decking.
Possibly.
The decking is a mess.
my
The decking
God.
is a
Pretty bad
hazard.
I would
Yeah,
say it's a
that
pretty
done,
good
of course.
possibility.
Yeah.
Yes, and so that's something else that we're exploring with some other potential partnerships.
Okay.
So
So why is AT&T not responsible for some of that if it's the conduits being laid for their products?
they can just use the existing, so they're gonna bore. So they don't really have to lift off, like, they don't have to like actually touch any of the existing infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
Cause they're just like going to the ground.
Okay,
But
but we still need to.
there's some other ideas out there as far as maintenance goes.
I think
So they're not
Got it.
responsible
Okay.
because they're going underneath it.
Got it.
However, may have to lift off some decking.
I mean, it's not our gig, but how do they get the equipment up there? The
Not our
generator,
gig.
Aerial.
Directional boring equipment is usually on tracks, and so you could walk right up the back of the dune with it.
Yeah, they're
With
gonna
the
go up the back of the
generator?
dune.
I don't know about the logistics
Oh,
of getting
okay,
a
I
generator up there.
Oh, they're
but-
probably gonna have to helicopter
I
some
was gonna
stuff
say, I
in.
heard aerial was the way.
Okay,
I
and
think
since
so.
there's the old road they could go up to.
Okay,
Okay.
so yes, but still not only, okay, I think that covers everything at this
Yes.
point.
Yep.
As far as next steps, like I said, I'm gonna share the bathroom renderings with you guys. I didn't, oh, one big next step, next PPW meeting, we have to reschedule because that's during the election. So
What is
Um,
the date of that?
the date,
27.
yeah. And I
One
already,
that we're supposed to go to?
Yeah, and that's election day.
Oh, yeah, you can't. We'd be in the way, wouldn't we?
be here a little bit.
I don't know if I could work you guys in. I'd try. Can't have that stress.
Yeah.
That's all right.
And we can't meet on the 26th or the 28th either, can we? You know what? I didn't, as the township the township is having election on the same day at there are both of
But
you
you might
open?
wanna look into the library. The library has has a really large conference room. 'cause I've
Oh, that's a
called
good
it-
idea.
Yes, I've been to
Or
it.
they actually had the fireplace room too.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I would call
That's a good
there.
idea.
That's a really good idea, because would you be available to, I mean, I guess we just have to worry about, well, the thing is, could we get anyone to clerk the meeting still? Like, Sarah can't clerk it if she's got
No.
elections. So,
No, but somebody else could take.
just notes,
you guys
one of
could
us could
take
do it.
notes. That's what many of the committees before have.
Okay, all right.
We're spoiled, aren't we?
And then they've got that.
Yeah, thank you.
Not only are we spoiled, but we just start running our mouth all the
They have
time.
they have a
Extra
giant
word.
program room too.
Yeah, okay, well, would you mind looking at the library and asking if we can, since you're our little connection here?
Little connection.
Oh.
Our only connection, our most treasured connection. Is there some way? Because I'd like to keep it on that day.
What day?
Oh, no, I can't be in on that date. I'm working the election, aren't I?
Right, I thought you.
I'm working the election. I
Let's,
can't.
let's try to reschedule.
Different day.
Yeah, and I think
Maybe-
also there's another concern about outside your jurisdiction, like. outside to
Oh,
do
okay.
whatever, Yeah.
All right. So, Monday and Wednesday, she said, do not work either up here. So I don't know if Thursday that week on the 29th works for folks.
I have
Is
a
that,
doctor's
what day is
appointment
that? Is
at
that a
11.
Thursday?
That's a February date of
Thursday, the 29th.
Thursday.
So it doesn't work for Glenna. What about? I don't want to go into March because then we'd have 2 meetings inside the 1
No,
month. That's
we don't
not
wanna do
cool.
that.
Oh, there's meet the 29th.
I'm going out of town, so.
You don't mind missing? Okay. We can meet the 29th if it works for everybody else. Does it work for everybody else?
Yeah, it does work for me.
Okay,
What's a Monday?
let's do
I
that
might be
then.
out of town, but I don't know.
Come for the first half.
Oh, you can zoom in, okay.
Yeah.
And you can zoom from your, okay. Is that okay with you, Jamie? Do we have anything else in City Hall on the 29th?
California.
Thursday, February 29th?
Yes.
No, that's, you're open. You can do that.
Awesome. Let's plan it for that then. Fantastic. Thank you. And then I'm assuming we have to get that public notice or something for people.
Good.
Okay. All right, good. So I'm gonna go around the bend real quick and take any kind of member closing comments with a reminder that
Mhm.
it is not a Q&A.
So,
And I'm not really looking at you. I'm sorry.
No, you can look at me, that's
no,
okay.
Public comments is next. so-
Oh, public comments. I think we can open and close that.
Lisa
Yep,
left
no
us.
public comments. There's no one online or in the room.
Mm-mm.
And then we'll go around through member closing comments and then we can adjourn. And I will start with Ms. Johnson.
Just know, the only one thing I have to say is thanks to everyone. I would think it was a good meeting. Move forward. On Park Street. Sorry.
Cute.
Hit it, babe.
I'm moving to Park Street. They have a lot of fun.
We have fun over there.
I'm good.
We're good.
Just here again, I'm amazed at how much has gotten accomplished. And I'm happy that finally the one project I've been working on most has got a little bit of progress.
Yes.
And just, you know, Friends of the Blue Star Trail has lost some board members. Anyone who would be interested or know anyone, we were looking for some help. That's it.
No, just thanks to everybody and really proud of all we've accomplished. It's been busy. That's it.
Kelly and Glenna, you guys have done an amazing job. I just want to say that.
Yes.
It's been fun working together.
It
So,
has.
Yep.
That's a good one. That's, we gotta have hot dogs on that day.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
We have to
It's gotta be a
celebrate.
big party.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Next month will be my last PPW meeting since we are moving out of the city to the township.
Oh,
Oh, well,
You know,
we-
the
How do you feel about this?
Taxes are much higher out there.
Oh, you.
The rules.
oh.
All right, so you're actually moving to the town, I'm sorry, and I know I'm breaking my own rule now by interrupting the.
Question.
You're actually moving to the township before, okay. Oh,
Well, in March,
In
that we,
March.
most likely in March, we don't have a closing date yet.
Hmm.
So,
Oh,
You can still be our honorary member and come to the ribbon
well, I
cutting.
asked
and all
that, could I
stuff.
still stay on, but apparently we have. to be
Can't stand, just
part of our
honorary. You come and
president.
hang out right
Well,
there, like Chris
sit there
Clark
with
does.
us.
Just don't change your voter
But if
registration.
your house is not
Excuse
sold
me,
yet.
sir.
yeah, good point. If our house is not sold, well, we want it to sell.
So I might die of stress if it doesn't.
I'm sorry. We want it to sell, but we want you here, so let's figure it out.
Well, I said I'm still around. I'm 4 miles down the road.
Yeah. Get it.
Congratulations.
Yes.
Thank you.
Happy for you.
Very sad. Okay, well, on that, now I want to cry. So no, I just want to thank everybody again. Job well done. We got lots more work to do. It never stops, but man, I mean, just think about where we were a year ago and look where we are now and things are in motion. So much appreciation for all of you. Thank you. With that, I will entertain a motion to
Yeah.
adjourn.
Motion.
To adjourn.
I'll second.
Motion
Well, I'll
DeYoung,
second.
second Roach, meeting adjourned. All in favor, please say yes.
Yeah.
Meeting adjourned.
Hey.
You guys are